Hi, everyone. I'm here with Elena Yunosov, who's a very busy woman. We met in February of last year, but I'm so happy to be able to sit down and talk with you as we end up, gosh, the end of 2024 here. There's so much going on, and I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about things. But first of all, give us a little bio about yourself, make sure you include the current Human Feedback Federation and also the AI Tinkerers.
So yeah, sure. I've been working in technology for over a decade now. My background is in marketing communications. I've done tons of work with the government, had my own marketing agency at one point, and then worked in-house primarily in technology, and with VCs. And so most recent role was with RBC at RBC Borealis, which is the bank's um, AI and AI research and development division, really. It's now completely merged with the bank. At the time when I was there was more independence, and so I'm sure things have changed, but it's been amazing to learn about AI and work with researchers, engineers, and business experts over at RBC and my colleagues to take products to market used by tens of millions of Canadians, and talk about the risks and challenges and opportunities and responsible AI adoption. We've launched Respect AI platform where we talked and advocated for responsible AI, did quite a bit of research into the barriers, and was on the Trustworthy AI committee within RBC as well. So that's where I fell in love with the responsible AI side of work. And when ChatGPT blew up, I really felt, knowing what I know, um, and everything we've talked about, just got amplified. And so I was compelled to just start what I'm doing now, which is Human Feedback Foundation, where we advocate for human input into AI systems. And on the technical side, we advocate for human feedback based approach to AI. And then on the social impact side, we really talk a lot about human in the loop and human centric systems and incentives and what it takes to build them. And so maybe where we're anchored the most is the applied end of responsible AI. And so we land with engineers quite a lot, and we talk to the engineering and research community about how to really challenging them to bring all these principles into their work. And because it's new, you really never had to build software in this way.
Right.
So to that extent, we do community building, and so we do monthly meetups through AI Tinkers, which is a global community. And so we run one in Toronto, and we work with our counterparts in Montreal and elsewhere to build a really strong community of technologists who can share their work and talk about work in progress and share demos. And that's a monthly meetup. We've started hosting in May with support from Shopify, Accenture, Mozilla,
Wonderful.
Cerebras, and Drive Capital, and others. And it's now a community of over 1,000 AI/ML engineers. We also run Paper Club on AI Tinkers platform, which I know you've attended many of our sessions, and we are lucky to be able to bring world-leading researchers into the room to talk to the engineering community and answer questions and walk them through the latest research, where there's usually a human-centric lens to the research papers
Yeah.
that we pick. And so we work through that together. And those, not to mention everything we do, but those initiatives have been truly satisfying. There's more,
Elena,
but I can talk
that's
more.
three full-time jobs casually. I have to admit, it's very admirable the level of your work, and I have a few questions right out of the gate. But I love that you're doing the hard work of the applied feedback stuff, right? Because there's so many doctorates and opinions and white papers. It's actually, I hate the cliche, but where the rubber meets the road, where the engineers make those actual decisions in the design of products, right? Where where the human feedback comes back to so important. I have a question about RBC though. That was really a perfect jumpstart for you, wasn't it? Really, when you just said it, but looking back, when did that start at RBC? Like when was that group formed?
So RBC Borealis was founded, I think, in 2016, which is really
Wow.
early. It's
Yeah.
extremely amazing what they've done. I think it predates DeepMind, quite frankly, for Google. And so for the bank to kick off what at the time was an AI research lab is really quite amazing, and resource it and bring top researchers into the room. Over time, it evolved and grew a sizable engineering team to help
Right.
commercialize the IP and research and work more directly with the different business lines within the bank and build backend for the products to essentially modernize them to be able to offer more customized, more tailored
Right.
products. So really amazing work, and I'm yeah grateful because can't think of a better place to learn these things. And I really
Right.
appreciated learning about building AI in responsible way because
Right.
the bank, given how
Right.
regulated finance is
Yeah.
in Canada, you really do not have an option to move fast and break things. And so that's
Zero,
been
zero fault, right? You cannot you can't break one thing in a bank. So it sounds perfect. Did you have access quickly to like marketing data and user data to in your research there?
well, it's kind of a bit of a strange question because as a marketer, my role there was to translate a lot of the
Right, right,
tech speak to people, my peers over at various business lines, because we would work on a number of products, but then
right,
people on the business lines would really come to me for information about what did we do actually.
right.
Because
Well,
a lot of this is technology deep weeds, and they would read it and they would go, okay, can
yeah.
you please translate this into human language for us so we can put it into our marketing materials, talk about it in a way that is consumer friendly.
Yeah,
And that's been part of the job that I really enjoyed. And so for sure we would talk about the user data and the user
yeah.
journeys. But that hasn't been primarily my specific job because
No,
I'm not an
no,
expert
no,
in any of the
yeah.
specific products.
Right, right. Well, no, the reason I ask is because I have my experience is you get to that point within the business operations where they don't even know what the data is that they have, right? Or how it's categorized in many ways.
I
Uh,
mean, the data, the state of data is a whole other conversation, and it is, of course, a challenge in every organization that
yeah,
is adopting AI today because it hasn't been created with that end in mind often. And
right,
you do need to rebuild data infrastructure and data permissions and build for security, etc. And the bank maybe is more ahead than others
right.
in that they've built Borealis AI and they've worked with AI for years and years. But of course, given especially generative AI, you do need to modernize your data lakes, your processes. At the enterprise level, you need to do integrations and sharing that maybe you didn't have before, and that's
Right.
just part of modernizing your systems. It cannot be avoided.
No, no, but to your point, that was early on to throw that much energy and effort into it, into a formalized structure within the bank. It does show prescience there, and the fact that now it's rolled in and so integral, I'm sure gives them a head in the marketplace. All right, let's change tones now, because you are very accomplished and in depth. But I'm curious in your personal life. Give me one or two uses of AI that we might not expect to hear, or just that you have found in your personal life, just in the day-to-day Elena world.
I mean, I have fun with AI mostly. Of course, I use it for professional ends as well, but my personal use tends to be, more in the creative side of AI and making songs with it, talking to it about the movies I like, and uh, it's been a really good co-pilot for these things for sure.
Yeah. And that's what we stress in the community too, about using it as an assistant and helping you in your personal and professional lives. Have you played around with Sora much?
Not so much Sora, no, but more yeah,
Mid-Journey music.
music stuff, yeah, and voice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Midjourney. But I've been playing around with. I only got access to Sora this morning, and so far it's been a little disappointing. Only the UI is very strong. From my experience already.
Yeah, I do enjoy looking at UIs for these tools, and I think going forward, it's where innovation really will come from.
Yeah,
It's really where ChatGPT is from. It's a UI innovation.
yeah,
They had this playground available to everybody before, and no one used it. But the moment
right,
they've changed the UI, it became, oh, boom, 300 million users.
right, right.
So
Amazing.
UI
Um,
really matters.
Yeah, no, it totally does. And also we're at the point now where the evolution of the UI is getting, empowering a lot of people in different ways. Like the new Canvas interface within ChatGPT is really, I think, a really big step because it's interactive. It's not so straight input output, right?
Yeah, and I enjoy it, and I think it's really quite relevant to the work we do. And so it's maybe where we invest some of our time in 2025 is looking at HCI and how that needs to evolve, because it's where humans hit the systems,
Right,
that human computer interaction. And so it's interesting in the sense of what data we're sharing, how we're sharing it. Are we oversharing? Because we
right,
totally are at the moment and cannot be solved. So we can preserve some shreds of privacy.
right.
Um, which we're sharing way more data than we should for the services we get back at the moment. And so all these questions really do land, a lot of it does land with UI, which we haven't really touched on just yet. We've been talking to engineers a lot, but we will be talking to HCI and designers for sure in 2025, quite more deeply.
Yeah, and also with multimodal models becoming more and more powerful, the voice in, the visual, and the whole UI need to get richer to get more feedback from actual humans.
Yeah, and it's one thing to get more feedback. It's also for us about who really owns your conversations with
Yeah,
AI,
yeah,
who
yeah,
owns your voice, who owns your data, and are these systems reflecting your values and perspectives? Are they really helping make human lives better in substantial ways? And how open are they so that we can have feedback loops in place to help improve them and have more agency over these tools? Or are we heading to a place where they have agency over us, which would not be great? So those are the kinds of questions that we sit on and try to think about steering things into a more, hopeful direction going forward.
well, and it's very important because there's still you and I both know there's still people who just throw up their hands and still have their head in the sand about these issues in many ways, or just feel like it's a technological discussion that I don't want to be part of. And I really think literacy, AI literacy. I mean, I've done some large corporate training events over the last year, Elena. And just, the anxiety and fear is there, but I hope it doesn't block people from learning and growing with these tools, because we need people to share and need people to review and see what their limits of privacy are and what they expect from these tools. So it's a scary thing when people are anxious and steer away. And that's why I think your work is important. Even the paper discussions are brilliant. They really are. Um, because even if you're not a computer science academic or at that level, if there's 10% of the gleaning of you can find out how the models are being trained or where those limits are about sharing or how to control and use these tools in better ways or find out where the research is going, it's very insightful, and I think you should be commended for that. And
Yeah. I mean, we're connecting the dots here and building a bridge between the research community and the engineering side of it, because we're so interested in maybe accelerating adoption of the human-centric ways of building.
Right.
That does take education, to your point. We are also looking at the sector level where responsible AI, human-centric AI could come from. And
Yeah.
so in terms of AI literacy, we've invested a lot of energy into the nonprofit sector because
Yeah.
the incentives there are extremely well aligned to responsible AI adoptions. I cannot say the same about corporations, not until there are specific regulations in place where it will be tied to compliance. Commercial incentives are not at all friendly, unfortunately, to the responsible AI universe. And of course, I commend the organizations that put safety guardrails and other testing validation processes into their ways of how they build, but it is definitely not the norm or the default, unfortunately, while the
Right.
nonprofit sector absolutely does think through these things very deeply naturally, because they are not as concerned about bottom line, they're more mission driven. And so they serve underserved populations. They help people
Yeah.
with cancer. They're extremely human centric in the organization design sense. And so we've designed and will be launching AI governance for nonprofit boards and executive teams training in 2025. We
Good.
have a proposal for funding in front of government right now about bringing the whole sector into the age of AI. We have a plan. We've built a consortium around the ideas we have, and so I'm grateful for the alignment because it's University of Toronto CDL, it's TMU, the
Yeah.
DAIS Policy Lab, it's Imagine
Yeah.
Canada, Canadian Cancer Society, ACHEV, UHN, and a number of other nonprofits that have joined the consortium for it to be a stronger proposal. And if that does go through, that will be a very exciting and busy time for us in 2025, so that we can get these organizations that are extremely human-centric and deal with societal well-being empowered by AI
Yeah.
tools because they have the data, they have the missions. They just need to be subsidized to bring some of those adoption barriers down, help them be upskilled, help them be coached. And it's not insurmountable and would be very exciting work for us to do.
Well, and also now's the time to do it. This can't, the longer you wait, the more it slips into the commercial realm purely, yeah, I'm overstating it, but you know what I'm saying. Is AIGS involved in the consortium at this point?
Oh, AIGS, so Catherine has worked with us as well as Mackenzie through Mindboard to
Wonderful.
create the training,
Wonderful.
and then AIGS obviously endorsed it as
Good.
private AI and others. And we've put it through a lot of feedback loops to get it to the state it's in the fall of 2024. And so it hasn't been us,
Right.
from the sky dropping it onto people. It's been a co-design collaborative project that we led and Mindport collaborated with us, and then has been reviewed by experts we respect on the technology side from Vector Institute and other similar
Yeah.
organizations to stakeholders in the nonprofit sector, obviously, because the training is ultimately for them
Sure.
at the level of the board and executive level. So I'm excited about launching that in 2025 and maybe possibly being funded by the government to extend, just because it's one piece of the puzzle, but
Right.
for us to get the whole puzzle funded would be really quite cool, because it would help move organizations that make tangible difference into the age of AI and therefore amplify their effectiveness and uh, get us to a place where nonprofits can steer the future of AI more directly, because they're not on the table right now. And that's a problem, because if we want more human-centric AI
Right.
systems learn from us
Right.
fundamentally. So if they learn, if they learn, to do warfare and, you know,
Yeah.
do and automate people out of jobs, etc.,
Yeah.
they will learn that and they will be very good at that. But it would be nice if we could actually have AI for good in a very tangible way. That would
I,
be really quite
I
good for
I
us.
couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And you know what? Also, those boards are seeking this kind of inputs really because there's so much uncertainty and there's no in-person expertise at the table for so many of these organizations, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the fact that you can get a consortium together to run through the permutation so that it's more acceptable out of the first gate, or at least puts it on the table, very commendable. And I wish you all the best with that. And
yeah,
I make sure to promote the engagement because again, it's a societal change, and that requires as much engagement as possible. And if there's one thing that our civilization kind of looks like it's doing now is not engaging. The population is engaging less in many ways, and it's discouraging. But back to your point about this, the timing is right. So I wish you the best. And you know, our governments, both U.S. and Canada, I'm a dual citizen, need to focus on the human side and empowering us all with these tools and not just making it a full corporate play. It's bad,
yeah.
you know, I mean, it's going to change society in many ways. You know, my focus is very much on the educational side. And it was amazing to me to see such early, you know, resignation and hand wringing about it. Like, but now there's so many great AI education experts, and the conversation has changed in the last year to empowering another generation using these tools. You know, the idea of having an endlessly patient tutor ride around with you as you learn is not far off when you think of it.
Yeah, and maybe one example I can share about education work we do at the Human Feedback Foundation. We work with U of T
Right,
directly with computer science students within U of T, third, fourth year computer science students, and it's an apprenticeship program. So we scope the projects for them. They are open source contributions and so non-commercial work. And
right,
then we mentor them for these projects. They work in small groups to build what's in scope and learn as they build how to build
right,
and their
right,
their skills into production mode. And of course, they learn a ton about AI, and it's extremely rewarding work in the sense that we are building things in a human-centric way.
right.
We're teaching them through practical projects to think in a certain way
Yeah,
and consider these issues quite deeply. And that's, of course, thanks to the mentors we have who are amazing, but it's also great for the students because they get to build a thing. They get it on their GitHub. There is
yeah,
immense pride in having built something together with your peers. You get graded on that. But beyond that, it's the skills that you develop will really stay with you. And maybe one day you won't raise your hand to build a human killing drone, you know?
right.
Like, it's
So,
really helpful to install some of these defaults early because it's maybe a new branch of engineering that is going to
right.
emerge about building these things in this way, which is quite exciting, really. And so that's education too. It's
It
working with,
is.
to your point, working with the builders
Yes,
themselves to build things thoughtfully, to consider these not as barriers, but you know, humans in your tech stack can be very annoying. You know, how do you
right.
scale a sack of meat? But it's also an interesting set of problems for a talented engineer to think, okay, you know, if we
Yeah,
do privacy preserving AI, how? You know,
right,
if we start respecting human in the loop and the human in the stack, how do we do it? And I know Anthropic, for example, is one of the organizations in big tech that has done quite a lot of thinking about scaling human feedback
right.
and OpenAI has done a lot of thinking about democratic input to AI. And so there's been really good signals, even from big tech, about the future, potential future. But those things are not guaranteed, unfortunately. And that is our role, really, as a nonprofit to try and steer things in that direction. Because if we don't, we will have autonomous AI systems that are there to solve human problems without any input from the actual humans. And that
Right.
does not sound great to me.
No, no, but also it's applied learning. So these students, these engineering students, are actually making those new and potentially awkward conversations or decisions or difficult, right? At that level, where do those kick in? I'm mentoring a program at Wilfrid Laurier, which is Designed for Change, which is a similar kind of program. And it's fascinating because just like you said, you're getting these engineers to look at it that level. All right. Okay, let's finish up, Elena. But and the most important question is today, what is the best sandwich?
Oh, the best sandwich. Well, I've just got back from London, and so I really like London sandwiches, which I have never seen the equivalent of. It's grilled cheese in the middle, but also on top.
Uh,
So really into that, honestly. Great idea. I
so
can't
like
believe I haven't
a
thought of it myself.
a third dimension grilled cheese, a multi-layered grilled cheese. All right, listen, thank you so much for spending time with me. We're going to share this in the site community, and thank you for being a member. And best wishes for a great holiday season and a wonderful 2025.
Thanks, Stephen. Really, thanks. And yeah, same to you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.